So there we are, coming along a little bit. I'm at the stage where I need to make my little guide down there. If you don't have that guide in here, then your tailstock, which is going to house things like drills and whatnot that go into here, will turn. That's not good. Actually has me debating a little bit as to what material to use. I was thinking of using brass, because then brass would not, that would leave this safe. But I'm thinking actually that takes a whole lot of shear load on it. Would brass be strong enough? Alternatively, yeah, maybe that's exactly what you want is for it to be weak, so that you have a shear pin kind of arrangement here. Maybe it would be better for that to break and rather than have something like a drill bit shatter. I don't know. Haven't made up my mind. Or brass in that configuration might be a whole lot stronger than I'm even giving it credit for. Lots of hypotheses. So this is my redneck pin gauge. I try to keep these, like if I ever, this is a good set of drills that I have. I don't use them for carpentry or any junk like that. And I try, if I do by chance mar up the shaft, I try to quickly rectify that, turning them in the lathe and taking a file to them, and just try to keep them as true as possible. And one of the things you can use them for then, in that case, is checking for size, which I think was the best fitting one that I have. I think this one wouldn't quite make it if I remember correctly. Yep. Okay. So that's a pretty good redneck pin gauge right there. Since I don't have, a full set of the proper machinist tool for this application. Alright, so using my little redneck pin gauge, this was my closest. It's supposed to be 189 thousandths, number 12. And we'll just go over here and verify that real quick. Ain't bad. So I came across this drawing. I forgot I even did. I found the piece, by the way, that was it was not out in my yard. But this is the piece that I just keep inside of here, and it takes the place of the missing part that's supposed to be screwed at the end of this threaded rod here. What's a little bit perplexing is that if you look at the drawings that I showed earlier, the actual Logan drawings that show just a little nylon washer, they draw it as though it's a fairly thin little thing. And as you can see, I measured out a 700 thousandths gap between where that threaded rod ended up and where the a typical Morse taper 2 no extension wound up. By no extension, I mean some of the MT2s are made with a little slotted, or not slotted, rectangular cross-section piece that extends off of the end, and that locks it in certain tools, keeps it from rotating, even more than just the Morse taper fit itself. And then you have other ones that omit that, and you're just relying on the friction fit of the Morse taper. And I use both interchangeably, and so you need to make sure that you can cover down on both situations. So this is 850 thousandths or something like that, or almost 900 thousandths. All right. So, but even if it were 700 thousandths, okay, there's 700 thousandths right there. That's not a washer. So I just wonder what I'm missing here. Now, this works, like I said, works fine. Something looks like something even about that size would work. But some little washer like that would not work if you didn't have one of the extension pieces on there. So I'm not sure what's up with that. But for the time being, I'm just happy that this little piece does the job for now until I get the rest of my situation squared away. And the reason I drug out this notebook and discovered that, so I just wanted to sketch up what I wanted to do here with making the pin for the tailstock. So we determined it was 186 thousandths. What we want is something that's okay. It's round, and cross section has 186 thousandths here, but then at top it is a rectangle. Can I draw on the fly? I don't know. That's tall order, to be honest with you. Yeah, something like that, I guess. Right? So, and we'll determine this width right here by measuring the slot in the cylinder that rides in the spindle that rides in the tailstock. So we can figure that out. Now, so what I was thinking about this problem of making this thing, and what the idea that I came up with was that I'll take this little nibbin of brass and turn down a small section of it that is at this cross section, this 186 thousandths, and then I'll mount it in my mill so that I can square. So you'll start off with something like this, and then turn that up in a little collet chucky thing I have, and come back with the mill and delete the corners and then cut it off. That's my idea for making one of these. Now I'm curious, someone told me that wrote in one of my comments that Randy Richards just made one of these in one of his videos. So yeah, that's my idea. I'm curious to see the way Randy did it. But meantime, I'm just going to go make it. I'll have to get some of the rough edges off when I put it back on the lathe. Focus! There we go. A little file work on top of that. Should be okay. So up in here I got a bad spot. So my new piece works everywhere but up here. Nice fit everywhere else, including inside the tailstock. So I'm setting up here in the mill for a little touch-up. I've got it as level as I can make it, and I'm just gonna get a smallish mill, not one that exactly fit. That's a 1/4 inch, I believe, slot. What did I determine when I measured this? It was more like 3/16. Yeah. But anyway, I'm going to just touch off on one side and clean up. I don't know if you can see right here. This is where it is. And this all comes from what I was talking about previously, the thing being beaten on and just abused. So try to repair the damage. Alright, we're not touching yet. I've just been kind of verifying the best of my satisfaction that I do have a good setup here. I did not put an indicator on this vise. I was pretty sure it was true, and that's why I'm kind of like eyeballing it now just to make sure that yes, it is true. And from what I'm looking at, I'm going to say yes, that I'm trusting it. And so I don't know if I have to come off on that side, maybe just a teeny bit. But I'm talking about that side. It looks pretty good. This side has a very visible little ridge on it. So here goes nothing. leave it set up alone and just see whether or not that did the trick. Yes, I got it. Good. Alright, I think everything's good now. You can see the little, yeah, it's a little bit chowdery there. Probably didn't have that running fast enough. And I wasn't using any kind of oil or anything because I was wanting to see what I was doing. I think we're good. Alright, so here's our lathe. And here's our little thing. Here's our tailstock, I meant to say. Here's our new little key piece. Here's our spindle, which I can see is probably going to be tough to align up in there. Yeah, this is going to be fun. Oh, yeah. And there we are. They're all together now. That's great. And this will not turn because it should not turn. Alright. For the most part, done with the tailstock. Oh, I'll put my custom bit of aluminum in there. And here's a random big one. Here's one. Does just like it's supposed to. Clamp works just like it's supposed to. Everything's good. Alright. Need to order one of these. I think I'll make a little plug for the time being, and then some fine day, probably with this very lathe, I'll turn a little piece to go here. So I just wanted to give the final overview. I'm going to paint this as well so that it'll have a nice little match. But yeah, working really, really well. And these feel good to the hand. Yeah, so these, the work I did on the handles, I think, is well worth it, just for the feel. It just feels good in the hand. I like it a lot. I might even polish this guy up for the same reason. There are some missed spots, so I'll be taking it apart and doing a little bit of touch-up at some point, and there's my run that I had earlier. So, but I'll tell you, that's the reason I like this hammered finish paint. It's not like you're painting a car, you know. You can get a little something like that, and you can absolutely come back later with a brush, dab something on. After it dries, you won't even be able to tell it's there. So that's why I've kind of gone to this the brush on application and the hammered finish stuff, is that I just, I want to get running these things rather than spending all my time masking and spraying and all that kind of stuff. Alright, well, with the tailstock finished, next up we'll be working on the carriage and cross slide. First I'm going to make a T-nut for this tool post. Only reason I haven't been able to do it up till now is I was missing the necessary tap. This is a 9/16 18, I believe. Yeah. Ordered it off of a private seller on eBay to my door for $9. It's a nice old American one. And so I'm going to get this guy going on here for now, even though I think later I probably will end up putting the my nice Dorian tool post on this guy as this lathe becomes the lathe. But for now, I'll get us up and running. There's my little T-nut. I've changed my mind. I've decided that since the Dorian is eventually going to show up over here anyway, I'm going to go ahead and set it up here now. So I'll drill this out for I think it's like 1/2 inch 20, something like that. Yeah, I will set this lathe up for the Dorian, and I will use that tap I bought to make one of those top levers like I have on the Dorian for the other import tool post that I will put back on the Atlas where it started. Right now, I'm tired. I'm going to have an adult beverage.